Rethink Everything. The Secret to Making Better Decisions Every Day. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Introduction. Imagine this. You're standing at a crossroads. On one side, every decision you've ever made, every choice that's led you to where you are today. On the other side, a world where every decision is crystal clear, where you feel confident, empowered, and in control of your life. What if I told you that the difference between those two realities comes down to one simple thing? The ability to rethink, to question everything you assume, analyze every choice, and unlock the secret to making better decisions every single day. You've heard it before, life is a series of choices. But what they don't tell you is that most of us make decisions on autopilot. We rely on habits, assumptions, and outdated beliefs to guide us. We settle for mediocre outcomes, missing out on the clarity and confidence that could be ours if we only knew how to think differently. This isn't just another book about decision-making. It's a guide to unlocking the power of your mind, to seeing through the noise and discovering the clarity you need to live the life you've always wanted. You'll learn to break free from assumptions that have been holding you back. You'll uncover secrets about how your brain works, how it tricks you into taking shortcuts, and you'll gain the tools to make decisions that reflect your deepest values, leading you to a life filled with purpose, success, and meaning. Because your life right now is a reflection of the choices you've made, and if you want something different, a more fulfilling career, stronger relationships, a deeper sense of purpose, it all starts with rethinking how you make decisions. Imagine waking up every day with clarity, knowing that every choice you make will bring you closer to the life you've always dreamed of. That's what this book promises. You're not alone. Maybe you've felt stuck in your career, unsure of your next move. Maybe you're constantly second-guessing yourself, wondering if you've made the right decisions in your relationships, your health, your finances. You might feel like no matter how hard you try, you're missing something. That key to unlocking the success and fulfillment you've been searching for. I'm here to tell you, you're not missing anything. The answer is within you, and this book will show you how to find it. As you listen, you'll discover techniques to challenge your assumptions, strategies to see through the clutter of modern life, and tools to rewire your brain for better decision-making. You'll learn not just to solve problems, but to transform them into opportunities for growth. You'll become the kind of person who navigates life's complexities with ease, making decisions that elevate every part of your life. Albert Einstein, who once said, "The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them." This book will help you elevate your thinking, so you can make decisions that not only solve problems but open up new paths to success, fulfillment, and a life that truly matters. If you found value in today's video, smash that like button and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or ideas for future videos. Let's keep the conversation going. Your engagement fuels this channel, so let's grow together. Chapter 1. The power of asking the right questions. Critical thinking begins with the ability to ask the right questions. These questions help clarify information, challenge assumptions, and open doors to deeper understanding. Without asking the right questions, it's impossible to make well-informed decisions. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a situation, unsure how to move forward, or overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information available? Maybe you felt like you couldn't see the full picture, or perhaps you realized later that you didn't have all the facts. This is where the power of asking the right questions comes in. Asking the right questions is the foundation of critical thinking. Think about it. What's the first step in solving any problem? It's not finding an answer, it's asking the right question. Whether you're trying to decide on a career path, evaluate a news article, or solve a relationship issue, the key lies in how you frame your questions. The better your questions, the clearer your path forward becomes. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, was known for his ability to ask the right questions. When the company was struggling to find its direction, Jobs didn't focus on the surface-level issues. Instead, he asked a simple yet powerful question. What is our core product, and how can we simplify it? That one question led to the creation of the iPhone and changed the tech industry forever. Jobs didn't just try to solve the problem, he zoomed out, questioned the company's direction, and reframed the problem entirely. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not Steve Jobs. I don't have billion-dollar decisions to make, but the beauty of asking the right questions is that it works for everyone, regardless of the situation. Whether you're facing a small personal challenge or a big life decision, the process is the same. How to ask the right questions. Here are 3 simple steps to master this skill. 1. Clarify the situation. Before you ask any question, ensure you understand the situation. What's the problem or challenge you're facing? What information do you have, and what's missing? You can't ask the right questions if you don't first understand the context. 2. Challenge assumptions. Most of us carry hidden assumptions that influence our thinking. These assumptions often limit the questions we ask. For example, when faced with a career dilemma, we might assume that the only options are to stay at a current job or leave for another company. But what if there's a third option, like negotiating a new role within the same company? Challenging assumptions opens up new possibilities. 3. Zoom out. When we're too close to a problem, it's hard to see the bigger picture. Ask yourself, am I focusing on the right problem? This question can change everything. Sometimes the issue isn't the immediate challenge you see but something deeper. By zooming out, you can uncover the root cause. Ask yourself, what information do I need that I don't have right now? Am I assuming something that could be challenged? Is there a bigger picture I'm not seeing? These questions act like a mental compass, guiding you through complexity and helping you stay focused on what really matters. They'll help you cut through the noise and bring clarity to any situation. Here's a quick exercise. Think about a decision you've been struggling with. Maybe it's about work, a relationship, or even a health choice. Write down all the questions you've been asking yourself about this decision. Now look at those questions again and ask yourself, are these the right questions, or am I stuck on surface-level thinking? Rewrite your questions by applying the 3 steps. Clarify, challenge assumptions, and zoom out. You might be surprised how different the answers are when you're asking the right questions. Chapter 2. Seeing beyond the obvious. Understanding bias and assumptions. Critical thinking requires recognizing and overcoming biases and assumptions that cloud judgment. Without this awareness, we limit our understanding and make poor decisions based on incomplete or distorted information. Have you ever made a snap judgment about someone, only to find out later that you were completely wrong? Or perhaps you've been absolutely convinced that something was true, only to discover you were missing critical information. These moments often happen because of hidden biases and assumptions, mental shortcuts that shape how we see the world. They influence what we believe, what we ignore, and ultimately, how we make decisions. Every day, we're bombarded with information, social media, news outlets, advertisements, all competing for our attention. And it's easy to think we're being objective. But the truth is, we all have biases. Whether we realize it or not, these biases act like invisible lenses through which we view the world. They help us make quick decisions but often lead to mistakes or oversimplifications. One of the most common examples of bias is confirmation bias. This is the tendency to favor information that confirms what we already believe and ignore anything that challenges it. Imagine you're convinced that a particular diet is the best way to lose weight. You'll likely seek out articles and testimonials that back up your belief, while dismissing any evidence to the contrary. Over time, you become more entrenched in your views, not because the diet is necessarily the best, but because you've surrounded yourself with information that only supports one side. So how can we break free from these biases and assumptions? The first step is to recognize that they exist. The second is to actively challenge them. Understanding biases. Let's break down a few common cognitive biases that influence how we think. 1. Confirmation bias. As mentioned, this is the tendency to seek out information that supports our existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. It's like looking for proof that you're always right. 2. Anchoring bias. This occurs when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, the anchor, when making decisions. For example, if you see a product priced at $100 and then discounted to $50, you might think you're getting a great deal, because your mind is anchored to the original price, even if $50 isn't a bargain. 3. Availability heuristic. This is when we overestimate the importance of information that is most readily available to us. For example, if you frequently hear news reports about plane crashes, you might believe they're more common than they actually are, simply because that information is easily accessible and memorable. 4. Bandwagon effect. This bias occurs when people adopt beliefs or behaviors because they see others doing it. It's the classic everyone else is doing it mentality. which can lead to poor decisions without critical analysis. To overcome biases, we need to actively challenge our assumptions. Here are 3 strategies to help you do that. 1. Seek out contradictory information. One of the best ways to overcome confirmation bias is to deliberately look for information that contradicts your current beliefs. Instead of seeking validation, ask yourself, what am I missing? This doesn't mean you need to change your beliefs, but it does mean you're making a more informed decision. 2. Slow down. Biases often take hold when we're forced to make quick decisions. If you feel like you're jumping to conclusions or making a decision too quickly, slow down. Give yourself time to gather more information and think critically about your options. 3. Question your assumptions. We all carry unconscious assumptions that shape our worldview. Ask yourself, what am I assuming to be true here? And what if that assumption is wrong? This is especially useful in situations where you're facing a difficult choice or disagreement. Let's look at an example in the media. During election years, it's common for people to become entrenched in their political views, driven by confirmation bias. Many people only consume media from sources that align with their political beliefs, which reinforces their existing assumptions. They may even unfollow or block people who disagree with them on social media. As a result, they live in an echo chamber, surrounded by information that confirms their views. But what if they made a conscious effort to seek out news from different perspectives? Even if they don't agree with the other side, they'd gain a broader understanding of the issue, which would allow them to make more informed decisions. Ask yourself, what assumptions am I making about this situation? Is there evidence that contradicts what I believe, and am I willing to consider it? How might my biases be limiting my understanding? Pick a belief you feel strongly about, something in politics, diet, education, or even a personal relationship. Now, seek out information or perspectives that challenge your current viewpoint. For example, if you believe that a specific diet is the best, research evidence that might contradict that belief. As you explore opposing views, notice how your assumptions are challenged and whether your thinking shifts. Chapter 3. Breaking down information overload. In today's world, where information comes at us from all directions, critical thinkers need to develop the ability to filter out the noise and focus on what truly matters. Mastering this skill allows you to process information efficiently and make informed decisions without feeling overwhelmed. Imagine waking up to a flood of notifications on your phone, emails, social media updates, news alerts, and text messages, all before you've even had your morning coffee. This is the new normal for most of us. We live in an age of information overload, where the amount of data we encounter daily is staggering. In theory, having access to more information should help us make better decisions. But in reality, too much information can be paralyzing. It's easy to get lost in the noise, unsure which sources to trust or how to make sense of the conflicting advice and opinions that bombard us from every angle. This is where critical thinking becomes essential. The ability to filter out irrelevant information and focus on what really matters can be your superpower in this fast-paced, information-heavy world. But how do you do that? Information overload occurs when the amount of input we receive exceeds our capacity to process it. Think of it like trying to drink from a fire hose. The water is coming at you, but you can't actually take in enough to quench your thirst. Instead of feeling informed, you feel overwhelmed. The problem isn't just the quantity of information but also the quality. In today's media landscape, not all information is created equal. There's valuable content, and then there's noise, clickbait, misinformation, and distractions. If you don't know how to filter, you risk wasting time on things that don't matter or, worse, making poor decisions based on bad information. How to filter information. Here's a simple 3-step approach to breaking down information overload and focusing on what's important. 1. Set clear intentions. Before you start consuming information, be clear about what you're looking for. Are you researching a specific topic? Trying to solve a problem? Or just browsing for general knowledge? By setting a clear intention, you create a filter that helps you focus on what's relevant and ignore the rest. 2. Evaluate the source. Not all information is trustworthy. Before accepting something as fact, ask yourself, who is providing this information? Is the source credible? What might their motivations be? Learning to identify reliable sources is a critical thinking skill that will save you time and prevent you from being misled by false or biased information. 3. Practice selective consumption. You don't need to read every article, watch every video, or scroll through every social media post. Be selective about the information you consume. Prioritize sources that are known for providing accurate, valuable, and relevant content. When in doubt, ask yourself, is this helping me achieve my goal, or is it a distraction? A helpful concept to keep in mind is the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. Applied to information, it suggests that 20% of the information you consume will give you 80% of the value. In other words, most of what you come across isn't necessary for making informed decisions. Focus on finding that crucial 20%, the core information that has the most impact, and let go of the rest. For example, if you're researching how to start a business, instead of reading dozens of blog posts and listening to every podcast, focus on just a few high-quality resources, a couple of well-reviewed books, interviews with successful entrepreneurs, and industry reports. By narrowing your focus, you'll get more valuable insights with less time spent. Let's take a look at how information overload plays out in a common scenario, making a major purchase, like buying a car. With so many options, reviews, and opinions available online, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the advice. But a critical thinker approaches this situation differently. Instead of reading every review, you'd first set your intention. What are your must-haves for this purchase? Safety, fuel efficiency, cost. Then you'd evaluate sources. Are the reviews coming from credible experts or biased individuals with personal agendas? Finally, you'd practice selective consumption. Rather than reading every opinion, you'd focus on trusted reviews and data that align with your intention, narrowing down your options efficiently. By applying this method, you'd cut through the noise and make an informed decision, saving yourself time, energy, and frustration. Ask yourself, is this information relevant to the goal I'm trying to achieve? Is the source credible, or could there be bias? Am I consuming this information because it's valuable, or am I getting distracted by the noise? Identify a topic or decision you're currently feeling overwhelmed by. It could be related to your job, finances, health, or even a personal project. Now, apply the 3-step process: set your intention, evaluate the sources, and practice selective consumption. Notice how this approach helps you feel more focused and in control, and how much easier it is to filter out unnecessary or low-quality information. Chapter 4. Embracing Complexity. Navigating Gray Areas. Critical thinkers understand that not every problem has a clear-cut answer. Life is full of gray areas, and learning to embrace complexity is key to making sound, balanced decisions in uncertain situations. We often want simple answers, yes or no, right or wrong. It feels comforting to believe that there's always a clear solution. But the reality is, life isn't that straightforward. Many of the biggest decisions we face don't come with a manual or an obvious correct answer. They exist in the gray areas, where the lines between right and wrong blur, and certainty seems out of reach. Think about some of the toughest decisions in your life. Should you stay in your current job or look for something new? Is it better to prioritize career growth or work-life balance? Should you take a risk or play it safe? These are not black and white decisions. They're complex, involving trade-offs, personal values, and a high degree of uncertainty. Critical thinkers don't shy away from these gray areas. Instead, they learn to embrace the complexity, viewing it as an opportunity for deeper understanding. The ability to navigate uncertainty is one of the hallmarks of strong critical thinking. The problem with seeking certainty. Many people struggle with gray areas because they want certainty. They want to know they're making the right decision. But the truth is, in many situations there isn't a perfect solution, only a series of trade-offs. The need for certainty can lead to poor decision-making, because it encourages us to oversimplify complex issues or rush to conclusions without fully understanding the situation. This is particularly true in today's world, where we're constantly exposed to opposing opinions, whether it's through social media, news outlets, or personal relationships. People often feel pressured to pick a side, to have a definitive stance on everything, from politics to lifestyle choices. But critical thinkers are comfortable with holding space for multiple perspectives, recognizing that some issues require nuance and ongoing evaluation. How to navigate gray areas. Here are 3 strategies for thinking critically in uncertain or ambiguous situations. 1. Consider multiple perspectives. The first step in embracing complexity is recognizing that most issues have more than one side. Before making a decision, ask yourself, What are the different perspectives on this issue? By exploring multiple viewpoints, you gain a fuller understanding of the problem and can make a more informed decision. This doesn't mean you need to agree with every perspective, but it's important to consider them. 2. Weigh trade-offs. In situations with no clear right or wrong answer, every decision comes with trade-offs. For example, let's say you're trying to decide between taking a high-paying but stressful job or a lower-paying role with better work-life balance. There's no objectively better choice here. It depends on what you value more. By identifying the trade-offs, you can clarify what's most important to you and make a decision based on your personal values. 3. Stay open to re-evaluation. Gray areas often require ongoing reflection. As you gather more information or as circumstances change, it's important to be willing to adjust your perspective. This flexibility is a key component of critical thinking. Just because you make one decision today doesn't mean it has to be final. Critical thinkers understand that their opinions and choices can evolve over time as they encounter new evidence or experiences. Let's take an example from business. Leaders are often faced with complex decisions, especially during times of crisis or change. Imagine a company struggling with declining revenue. The leadership team has to decide whether to cut costs by laying off staff or invest in a risky new product to try to drive growth. There's no easy answer here. Both choices involve significant risks and trade-offs. A critical thinker would approach this situation by first exploring multiple perspectives. They might consult with financial experts, talk to employees, and study market trends to understand the potential outcomes of each option. Next, they'd weigh the trade-offs, what's gained and lost by each decision. Finally, they'd stay open to re-evaluation, recognizing that if new information emerges, they might need to adjust their strategy. This process doesn't guarantee success, but it ensures that the decision is made with a deep understanding of the complexity involved, rather than rushing to a quick solution out of fear or pressure. Ask yourself, am I trying to oversimplify a complex situation? What are the different perspectives I haven't considered? What trade-offs am I willing to accept in this decision? How can I stay open to adjusting my viewpoint as new information arises? Think of a decision you're currently grappling with, one that doesn't have an obvious right or wrong answer. It could be related to your career, finances, relationships, or even a personal belief. Now, write down the different perspectives you've considered. Are there viewpoints you've been ignoring or dismissing? Next, identify the trade-offs involved in each option. What are you willing to sacrifice, and what's most important to you? Finally, remind yourself that your decision doesn't have to be final. Stay open to re-evaluation as new information comes in. Chapter 5. How to solve problems creatively with critical thinking. Critical thinking isn't just about logic and analysis, it also requires creativity. When we combine critical thinking with creative problem solving, we unlock innovative solutions to complex challenges. The ability to think outside the box while staying grounded in reality is a key aspect of effective problem solving. We often associate critical thinking with logic, structure, and clear-cut analysis. And while those elements are crucial, they're only part of the equation. To solve the most challenging problems, you need to go beyond just analyzing the facts. You need to think creatively. Creative problem solving allows you to look at situations from fresh angles, find new connections, and generate ideas that others may overlook. Think about some of the most successful innovations in history. The invention of the airplane, the personal computer, even the smartphone. All of these breakthroughs were the result of combining critical thinking with creativity. The people behind these innovations didn't just solve problems, they redefined the problems and, in doing so, opened up entirely new possibilities. So how can you combine critical thinking with creativity to solve problems in your own life? It starts with recognizing that there's rarely just one solution to any problem. By shifting your mindset from "how do I solve this?" to "what are the different ways I could approach this?" you open yourself up to new possibilities. The connection between critical thinking and creativity. At first glance, critical thinking and creativity might seem like opposites. Critical thinking is logical, structured, and evidence-based, while creativity is free-flowing, spontaneous, and imaginative. But when they're combined, they complement each other beautifully. Critical thinking helps you evaluate ideas, ensuring they're grounded in reality. Creativity helps you generate ideas, pushing you beyond conventional solutions. Together, they create a powerful problem-solving approach that's both innovative and effective. How to solve problems creatively. Here are 3 techniques that will help you combine critical thinking and creativity to solve problems. 1. Lateral thinking is a technique used to approach problems from different angles. Instead of following a logical, step-by-step process, lateral thinking encourages you to make unexpected connections and come up with ideas that don't follow the usual patterns. One famous example of lateral thinking comes from Edward de Bono, the psychologist who coined the term. He used the analogy of digging a hole in different places instead of just digging deeper in one spot to illustrate how looking at a problem from different perspectives can reveal new solutions. Try this. When you're stuck on a problem, ask yourself, what if I looked at this from a completely different angle? For example, instead of asking how to sell more of a product, ask how you could solve your customer's underlying problem in a new way. This shift in perspective can lead to creative breakthroughs. 2. Mind mapping. Mind mapping is a visual technique that allows you to organize ideas and see connections you might have missed. Start by writing the problem in the center of a page, and then brainstorm related ideas, drawing lines to connect them. Don't worry about whether the ideas seem practical at first, just get as many out as you can. Once you've filled the page, use your critical thinking skills to evaluate which ideas have the most potential. Mind mapping helps break down complex problems and allows your brain to work more freely, which can lead to unexpected insights. 3. Reverse thinking. This technique involves flipping a problem on its head. Instead of asking, how can I achieve X? Ask, how could I make sure X never happens? Or what would I do if I wanted the opposite result? By imagining the reverse scenario, you force your brain to think in new ways and often uncover hidden obstacles or creative solutions. For example, if you're trying to improve team communication at work, ask yourself, how could I ensure that no one on the team communicates effectively? The answers might reveal the real barriers to communication, allowing you to solve the problem from a fresh perspective. Let's take the example of a business facing declining sales. A traditional critical thinking approach might involve analyzing past sales data, identifying trends, and looking for logical reasons for the decline. But creative problem solving goes a step further. The company could use lateral thinking to brainstorm new product features or ways to reach untapped markets. They might create a mind map to visualize different customer needs and how they can address them in innovative ways. Or they could use reverse thinking to ask, what are we doing that's driving customers away, and find insights they hadn't considered. By combining creative techniques with critical analysis, they could come up with ideas that not only solve the problem but also lead to growth and innovation. Ask yourself, am I approaching this problem from only one perspective? What creative techniques can I use to generate new solutions? How can I combine creative ideas with critical thinking to find the best approach? Think about a problem you've been stuck on recently, whether it's at work, in your personal life, or related to a creative project. Now apply one of the 3 techniques above. Use lateral thinking to approach it from a different angle. Create a mind map to visualize the problem, or flip the problem using reverse thinking. As you explore new ideas, use critical thinking to evaluate which solutions are realistic and impactful. Chapter 6. Decision-making in the face of uncertainty. In a world where you rarely have all the information you need, critical thinkers learn how to make confident decisions, even in the face of uncertainty. The key is to develop strategies for weighing risks, understanding probabilities, and staying adaptable as new information becomes available. We've all been there, stuck in a decision-making loop, unsure of the best course of action, because we don't have all the facts. Whether it's choosing a career path, making an investment, or deciding how to approach a major life event, uncertainty is a constant factor. In a perfect world, you'd always have complete information before making a decision, but life doesn't work that way. So how can you make decisions with confidence when the outcome is unclear? The ability to make sound decisions in the face of uncertainty is a crucial skill for critical thinkers. It's not about eliminating risk altogether, that's impossible. Instead, it's about developing the mindset and tools to evaluate risks, weigh options, and move forward with confidence, even when you don't know exactly how things will turn out. Humans are wired to seek certainty. It's comforting to know exactly what's going to happen and to feel in control of the outcome. But in reality, most important decisions are made in conditions of uncertainty. The discomfort this creates can lead to paralysis, where we avoid making decisions altogether, or rash decision-making, where we jump to conclusions just to avoid the feeling of uncertainty. How to make decisions in uncertain situations. Here are 3 strategies to help you make effective decisions even when the future is unclear. 1. Focus on probabilities, not certainties. In uncertain situations, it's helpful to think in terms of probabilities rather than searching for absolute answers. What are the most likely outcomes of your decision? What are the best and worst case scenarios? By considering the likelihood of different outcomes, you can make more informed decisions based on risk rather than fear of the unknown. For example, imagine you're considering leaving a stable job to start your own business. Instead of focusing on whether your business will succeed or fail, think about the probability of different outcomes. What are the chances that you'll gain traction in the first year? How likely are you to break even? What can you do to increase the probability of success? This shift in thinking can help you approach the decision with more clarity. 2. Embrace the concept of good enough. In a world of uncertainty, waiting for the perfect answer can be paralyzing. Instead, focus on making a decision that's good enough given the information you have. This doesn't mean settling for mediocrity, it means recognizing that no decision is without risk, and you don't need 100% certainty to move forward. Critical thinkers understand that there are rarely perfect answers, but there are reasonable ones that can be adjusted as more information becomes available. Make the best decision you can with the information you have, knowing that you can course correct if needed. 3. Stay flexible and open to new information. One of the biggest mistakes people make when facing uncertainty is locking themselves into a decision too early. Critical thinkers remain open to new information and adjust their decisions as circumstances change. This flexibility allows you to make the best choice in the moment while staying adaptable as you learn more. Let's say you decide to invest in a particular stock based on the information you have. After a few months, you notice new data suggesting that the market is shifting. Instead of stubbornly sticking to your original decision, you re-evaluate and adjust your strategy. Flexibility in decision-making isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of intelligence and adaptability. Consider a CEO leading a company through a period of economic uncertainty. They don't know if the market will improve or worsen, yet they still need to make decisions about investments, hiring, and product development. Instead of waiting for certainty, they use probabilities to guide their decisions, thinking through best and worst-case scenarios for different strategies. By embracing a good enough approach, they avoid analysis paralysis, making decisions that move the company forward, even if all the information isn't yet available. And most importantly, they stay flexible, ready to pivot as new economic data comes in, keeping the company adaptable and resilient. This same approach applies to personal decisions too. Whether you're choosing where to live, deciding on a career change, or navigating relationships, focusing on probabilities, making good enough decisions, and staying flexible will allow you to navigate uncertainty with confidence. Ask yourself, am I waiting for certainty before making a decision? What are the most likely outcomes, and how can I plan for both the best and worst cases? Am I allowing myself to stay open and flexible as new information comes in? Think of a decision you've been delaying because of uncertainty. Now apply the 3 strategies first. Think about the probabilities. What's the most likely outcome, and how likely are the other possibilities? Next, decide what would be good enough for you to move forward. What's the minimum amount of information you need to make a decision today? Finally, commit to staying flexible. Even after making the decision, remain open to adjusting your approach as more information becomes available. Chapter 7. Applying critical thinking to personal relationships. Critical thinking isn't just for professional or academic settings, it's a powerful tool for navigating personal relationships. By thinking critically about communication, assumptions, and emotional responses, you can build stronger, more empathetic connections with others. We often think of critical thinking as something we use at work or when making big decisions, but it plays an equally important role in our personal lives. Relationships, whether with friends, family, or partners, are full of complex dynamics, emotions, and assumptions that can lead to misunderstandings and conflict. When we apply critical thinking to our relationships, we open the door to better communication, empathy, and understanding. How many times have you found yourself in an argument or misunderstanding, only to realize later that it was based on an assumption or a misinterpretation? Critical thinking helps us avoid these pitfalls by allowing us to slow down, question our assumptions, and think more clearly about our interactions. Why relationships need critical thinking. Relationships are emotional by nature, and while emotions are important, they can sometimes cloud our judgment and lead us to make decisions or draw conclusions that aren't based on facts. Critical thinking helps us step back, reflect on our emotions, and approach relationship challenges with a clearer, more balanced mindset. For example, imagine you're in a disagreement with a close friend. It's easy to let emotions take over: anger, frustration, hurt. But what if you took a step back and asked yourself some key questions? Why am I feeling this way? What assumptions am I making about their intentions? Could there be another explanation for their behavior? This process can transform a heated argument into an opportunity for growth and understanding. How to apply critical thinking to relationships. Here are 3 ways to use critical thinking to improve your personal relationships. 1. Challenge your assumptions. One of the biggest barriers to healthy communication is the assumptions we make about other people's intentions. We might assume that someone is being rude, inconsiderate, or indifferent when, in reality, we don't have all the information. Instead of jumping to conclusions, pause and ask yourself, what am I assuming about this situation, and is it possible that I'm wrong? For example, if a friend cancels plans last minute, you might assume they don't value your time. But what if they had a genuine emergency or something unexpected came up? By challenging your initial assumptions, you give yourself the space to understand their perspective before reacting emotionally. 2. Practice active listening. Often, when we're in a conversation, we're not really listening, we're just waiting for our turn to speak. This habit can lead to misunderstandings because we're not fully processing what the other person is saying. Critical thinking encourages you to listen actively, focusing not just on the words being said but on the emotions and context behind them. Try this. The next time you're in a conversation, especially a difficult one, make it a point to listen without interrupting or planning your response. After the other person has finished, summarize what they've said to ensure you've understood them correctly. This small practice can have a big impact on the quality of your relationships, as it shows that you value the other person's perspective. 3. Evaluate emotional responses. Emotions are powerful, but they don't always tell the whole story. When you're feeling upset, angry, or frustrated, it's important to pause and evaluate where those emotions are coming from. Critical thinking allows you to separate your emotional response from the facts of the situation, helping you respond more thoughtfully. For example, if you're feeling angry at a partner for not doing their share of household chores, take a moment to reflect on why you're feeling this way. Is the issue really about the chores, or is there a deeper need for appreciation or fairness in the relationship? By critically evaluating your emotions, you can approach the situation with greater clarity and communicate your needs more effectively. Consider a common situation in many relationships: a misunderstanding between 2 people because of poor communication. Perhaps one person didn't express their needs clearly, and the other made an assumption based on incomplete information. Without critical thinking, this scenario could escalate into conflict, with both people feeling misunderstood and hurt. But a critical thinker would approach the situation differently. They would pause to reflect on their own assumptions, actively listen to the other person's perspective, and evaluate their emotional response before reacting. This approach doesn't just solve the immediate problem, it fosters deeper connection and understanding, allowing the relationship to grow. This same process applies to family dynamics, friendships, and even professional relationships. The more we practice critical thinking in our interactions, the less likely we are to jump to conclusions or let emotions drive our actions. What assumptions am I making about the other person's intentions? Am I truly listening to what they're saying, or am I just waiting for my turn to speak? How can I separate my emotions from the facts of the situation? Think about a recent disagreement or tension you've experienced in a relationship. Now, apply the 3 strategies above. First, challenge any assumptions you've made about the other person's intentions. Next, reflect on whether you've been actively listening or just waiting to respond. Finally, evaluate your emotional response. Where is it coming from, and is it clouding your judgment? By using critical thinking in this way, you can gain a clearer perspective and approach the situation with greater empathy and understanding. Chapter 8. The Habit of a Critical Thinker. How to live intentionally every day. Critical thinking isn't a skill to use occasionally, it's a daily habit that, when cultivated, empowers you to live more intentionally, make better decisions, and approach life with greater clarity and purpose. Developing the habit of critical thinking allows you to continuously grow and adapt, helping you navigate every aspect of your life with confidence. We've spent this journey learning about how critical thinking helps you solve problems, make decisions, and improve your relationships. But here's the key: critical thinking isn't something you do just when faced with a major life decision or a difficult problem. It's a mindset that, when practiced daily, can transform the way you live. Living intentionally means making choices based on your values and goals, rather than reacting passively to the world around you. It means approaching every situation, whether big or small, with clarity, curiosity, and an open mind. When you make critical thinking a daily habit, you empower yourself to live more purposefully, avoiding the pitfalls of automatic thinking and unconscious bias. But how do you make critical thinking a part of your everyday life? Building the habit of critical thinking. Like any habit, critical thinking can be developed with practice. Here are 3 simple ways to incorporate it into your daily routine. 1. Question your daily assumptions. Throughout the day, we make countless decisions based on assumptions about how things work, what other people are thinking, or what's possible. Some of these assumptions are useful shortcuts, but others limit our understanding or lead us to poor decisions. Start your day by questioning at least one assumption you've made. It could be something small, like assuming your morning routine can't be improved, or something bigger, like assuming you're not ready for a new challenge at work. By questioning these assumptions, you open yourself up to new possibilities and encourage a more flexible, open mindset. Try this. Before making a decision, ask yourself, what assumptions am I making, and are they serving me? This simple question can shift your perspective and help you make more thoughtful choices. 2. Practice mindful reflection. At the end of each day, take a few moments to reflect on the decisions you made and the thoughts you had. Were they intentional, or were they automatic reactions to your environment? What could you have done differently? This daily reflection helps you build awareness of your thought processes and improves your ability to think critically in the moment. Mindful reflection is key to developing the habit of critical thinking. It gives you the space to evaluate your actions and thought patterns, identify areas for growth, and course correct when needed. Over time, this practice strengthens your critical thinking muscles and helps you become more intentional in every aspect of your life. 3. Challenge information and seek multiple perspectives. In our fast-paced, information-saturated world, it's easy to accept what we read, hear, or see without questioning it. But critical thinkers make it a habit to challenge information and seek out multiple perspectives. This doesn't mean being skeptical of everything. It means being open to the idea that there might be more than one way to view a situation or problem. Try this. Whenever you encounter new information, whether it's a news story, a social media post, or even a piece of advice from a friend, ask yourself, what's the source of this information, and is there another perspective I haven't considered? By regularly challenging the information you consume, you stay engaged, informed, and open-minded. When you make critical thinking a habit, the benefits extend far beyond solving problems or making decisions. You'll notice that you feel more in control of your life, more connected to your goals and values, and more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Living intentionally means that every day, you're making choices that align with the kind of person you want to be. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you're creating the life you want to live. Critical thinking becomes a tool for self-empowerment, allowing you to pursue growth, learning, and meaningful experiences. Imagine you're navigating a typical day: work, family obligations, personal goals. Without critical thinking, it's easy to get caught up in the routine, moving through tasks without much thought. But with critical thinking as a daily habit, you're constantly reflecting, adjusting, and making sure your actions align with your bigger goals. For example, at work, instead of just following your normal routine, you might question whether there's a more efficient way to tackle a task. With family, you might reflect on whether you're communicating effectively and make changes to deepen your relationships. Even small decisions, like how you spend your free time, become opportunities to reflect on whether your choices are bringing you closer to the life you want to live. This level of intentionality allows you to live with greater purpose and clarity, and it all starts with building the habit of critical thinking. Ask yourself, am I making decisions based on habit, or am I thinking critically about what's best for me? How can I practice mindful reflection to improve my decision-making? What assumptions do I need to challenge in my daily life to live more intentionally? For the next week, commit to practicing one of the 3 critical thinking habits daily. Start each day by questioning an assumption you've made, and end each day with a few minutes of mindful reflection. Challenge at least one piece of information you encounter each day by seeking out a different perspective. As you practice these habits, notice how your mindset shifts and how much more intentional your decisions become. Final words. As you move forward from these pages, remember that critical thinking isn't just about solving problems or making better decisions, it's about unlocking a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Each time you challenge an assumption, question the information you're given, or take a moment to reflect before reacting, you're sharpening your mind and refining your superpower. Living intentionally, with curiosity and clarity, is a lifelong journey. It's not about getting every answer right, but about staying open to growth, learning, and new perspectives. Critical thinking will guide you through the noise, helping you uncover opportunities, make confident choices, and foster deeper connections. The world is full of complexities, but with this superpower, you can navigate them with confidence, purpose, and creativity. Let every thought be a step toward the life you want to live. The key is already in your hand. Now, go unlock the door. Take care, and be well.